If fear is the only thing stopping us from achieving our dreams, and we only fear what we don't understand, then the antidote to fear is knowledge. All we have to do is find out who has the knowledge that we need to conquer our fears and achieve our entrepreneurial dreams. My name is Callum Walker, and welcome to the podcast that will help you figure it out and conquer this lonely entrepreneurial journey.
Hello everyone, and welcome to not only the podcast, but the second, well technically first, but second installment of the Sleep series. So on the last episode, I really went deep into the outline for the podcast, for how this is going to be structured, and specifically how this month we're really focusing on sleep optimization. So in this episode, I'm really going into why sleep optimization. Why is sleep important, not just for your clients, but for you? I really feel, and this is the reason why I'm starting with sleep optimization in terms of my series, that sleep is the backbone and foundation for everything. I'm going to start off with the obvious one, which might be obvious to me, but listening to this, it might not be obvious. As a fitness coach, as an entrepreneur, running a business, it is so hard. It is so hard. It really is. I've found that entrepreneurship, running a business, has been the most challenging thing and rewarding thing in my life. It has been the most difficult emotional roller coaster I could ever expect to go on. Now, it's fantastic because you really do learn so much about yourself running a business. You understand your weaknesses, but you also understand your strengths. And also, I'm sure that you've probably really understood how strong and resilient you really are off the back of moving forward with this. Now, what's that got to do with sleep? Well, like I mentioned, this entrepreneurial game, running a business, is so challenging. And do you know when it's even more challenging? When you haven't slept? That naturally our ability to juggle the plates that we're spinning, to ride the entrepreneurial roller coaster of running a business, my God, is it harder when you haven't slept. That, briefly kind of going into the science of it, what you find is that, look, this entrepreneurial journey is an emotional roller coaster. It's an emotional game. It's a game of viewing and managing your emotions and using them in a way that is productive versus destructive. So in the sense of, let's say a client drops off, we have one of two ways that we can tackle it. One, that negative emotion of, oh my God, a client has just left me. That's also £200 next month I'm not getting. That is £200 I've now got to find. My God, I'm a failure. Everyone else is so much better than me. And I'm just a bag of shit. I know that because that is how I used to operate. Also, just really quickly, I've just got a whiff. I'm just going down the canals and what we say. I've just got a whiff of what is known as the Sweet Mary Jane. I've never smoked the stuff, but my God, does this canal stink of weed right now. Anyway, coming back to it, I know that process so well of a client's dropping off, me feeling like I'm just a bag of shit, that everyone else is so much better than me. I take it personally, and I'm going to be honest, there have been times where I've just crawled into a ball and just completely capitulated, taking it as a something personally, taking it as a reflection of my own ability as a coach, and it's caused me to then just be completely paralyzed. So my point is that client dropping off, negative emotions drive me to paralysis, to destruction. But when we can harness our emotions better, and by harness our emotions, I mean view them, see them for what they are, and then go, right, how can I use this constructively? I can go, right, client has dropped off. Okay, I can do two things. First of all, if they're dropping off, see if there's a way for me to actually resolve this. Ask them, okay, right, I get it. Why have you dropped off? What is it that I've missed? Have I missed something? Can we repair it? What can we do in order to move forward with things to keep you on the program so that I can continue to serve you? If that's still not an option, we can then go, okay, if you are leaving, I'm really, really sorry. Could I get some feedback? Could I get some feedback as to what is it that I missed? What is it that you would have liked to have seen within the service? That then provides you with some form of constructive stuff that you can use moving forward to be able to actually grow your business and improve the quality of your service to prevent this from happening again. But thirdly, if a client drops off, we can then go, okay, they've dropped off and I just got to suck it up. I've got to suck it up that I'm not getting £200 next month. If you're charging that, or 150 or 250 or whatever, I'm not getting that. What am I going to do about it? How can I find a new client? Where can I go and acquire a new client to come into my business to go and do that? Does that make sense? So first of all, emotional regulation when it comes to running our coaching business and being able to coach is huge. Like, it is so huge. And the problem is that when we're in a sleep deprived state, yes, I will go into the science of it, but I'm going to make it point blank and obvious. How much harder is it to navigate those emotions and use those emotions when you haven't slept? Like, your ability to take a step back and go down the constructive route that I just spoke about, it isn't there. It's almost like, everything is just darker, gloomier, more challenging and difficult when we haven't slept. That negative voice is so loud when I haven't slept. It is so loud. And it's hard to quieten it. Yeah, there's things I can do to overcome it. But really, like having a cup of coffee, doing some exercise, eating a decent meal, staying hydrated, all of those things. Yeah, they're things that you can do to kind of help overcome the emotional barrage. But if you've got a rock in your shoe, you can do one of two things. If it's causing you pain, you can take paracetamol to numb the pain, or just take the rock out. So if you are finding that your ability to deal with this emotional roller coaster is dwindling a bit, things are getting harder, you're becoming more emotionally involved, and your ability to deal with these emotions in a constructive way is not working, looking at your sleep. So why is that? Well, again, really simplified. There's a part of the brain called the amygdala, which, again, I'm really going to simplify this, but the amygdala is basically like the emotional center of the brain. You can call it we can call it your chimp brain. I know that's not exactly how Professor Stephen Peters spoke about it in his chimp paradox, but if we look at the amygdala, basically your chimp brain is raging, and the amygdala is really responsible for emotional control. So when we're in a sleep-deprived state, that ability to control your emotions via the amygdala just goes into haywire. It is so much more heightened when we haven't slept. So I think, first of all, really, why is optimizing your sleep important? I'm really looking at this from you as a coach, as a business owner. Clients are going to piss you off. Clients are going to leave. You're going to have lean patches. You're going to have periods when you're doubting yourself. You're going to have periods where that voice is really, really loud, telling you you're not good enough and you're not going to make this a success and everyone is better than you. And those things are going to happen. And when you haven't slept, they are even worse. So first of all, yes, the purpose of this sleep series is to educate you so that you can, provide a better service to your clients, so that you can really help them with their sleep so they can get better results. But really, the most important thing is applying it to you so you can deal with this emotional roller coaster even more. You can quieten that voice down. You can deal with those negative emotions in a positive and constructive way that is going to improve the quality of your life, as opposed to destroy the quality of your life. So that's the first thing. Now, kind of moving it into the second part, why else sleep optimization? Why do I need to learn more about sleep? It's not even just learning more about sleep, but sleeping better. I'm going to go into the learning side of things. But why would you want to learn more about sleep? Well, first of all, like I kind of touched on, it really, really is the foundation of optimizing your own performance physically. So I'm a big believer that we really, really need to be a walking advert for the result that our client can get, but more importantly, the person that they can become. If you're having adherence issues, if clients aren't following your plan, which is like insanely frustrating and insanely just like mind-numbing, and it feels like you're just banging your head against the wall and kind of feel like a tick box exercise. If you are feeling like that, this will really help. And again, kind of ties into the sleep side of things. That for me, if I look at myself as a client, so I had a coach for a long time, and there was never a problem with me following his plan. The same way I was in Russell Brunson's mentorship, and there was never a problem in me following the plan. Now, why is that? It's not because I'm holier than thou and I'm perfect child. It's because I wanted to be Russell's biggest success story. Because Russell inspires me. Because my coach inspires me. Because me being part of Russell's mentorship really kind of made me feel, I was like, the reason I'm with you is because you inspire me, that you have achieved things I want to achieve, and you are a person that I find inspiring, and you have characteristics that I would love to have. So I want to be your success story because I want to make you proud. You inspire me. You have helped solve problems in my life. You've helped me overcome challenges, and I want to make you proud. Does that make sense? Can you see how that can apply to you? That what we want to do is, in order to influence your clients to take action, there's two things you can do. You can manipulate their behavior. And by manipulate, I don't necessarily mean it in like the negative derogatory term of, oh, you're manipulating them. I mean in the sense of that you can put things in place, adherence strategies, do specific things to get them to do it. Or you can inspire them to want to take action. And I have found that the real secret to inspiring them to take action is to be inspirational. Be an inspiration to them in terms of showing them what is possible. That you can command that authority, command that respect. That when you are talking from a place of authority, they believe you because you believe it. Does that make sense? So I am a big believer that if you really, really want to level up your coaching and you really, really want to be able to provide them the best possible result, but more importantly, get them to adhere, be a walking advert for the result and person that they can become. Which brings me on to the next part in terms of how I want you to use all of the information that I'm going to provide you around sleep optimization, which is, and I've mentioned this so many times on the podcast, but I will mention it again and again and again until it really, really, really hammers into you that in my membership, we go through a very clear 3-step process in terms of how to level up your knowledge and how to get better results with your clients. That what I want you to do with this information is all of the stuff in this sleep series. Before you go and apply it to any of your clients, apply it to yourself. So the 3-step process is really, first of all, acquiring the information, learning the theory, listening to everything that I'm going to talk about, and understanding it from a theoretical point of view. But then secondly, before you go and apply it to your clients, apply it to yourself. Why? Why apply it to yourself? First of all, like I've just said, it means that you're going to be a walking advert for the result that they can get. You're a walking advert that it works. I know it works because look at me. I remember, this isn't specifically tied to sleep, but I had a client who was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. I mean, she was causing me sleepless nights. She was constantly moaning that her plan just wasn't working. She wasn't losing weight. And all I'd done was asked her to do some intermittent fasting. That's all I'd done. Do a little bit of fasting, do a 16-hour fast, and eat twice a day. That's all I was asking. Basically, just don't have breakfast. And I remember she said these words to me, which were, I just don't think this is good for my soul. This just isn't good for my soul. And the problem was, at the time, I didn't know where my next client was coming from. Financially, I wasn't exactly in a very secure spot. I was charging £650 for a 12-week program at the time. And I needed that 650 quid. And the problem was that she was just constantly going on at me about how she wasn't getting a result. I haven't lost weight this week. I haven't lost weight this week. I haven't lost weight this week. And I remember sleeping in my study one night, trying to figure out why she's not losing weight. And I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep because I was so scared about losing her, but not necessarily losing her, because that would have actually been a bit of a dream, but more the refund side of things. I was like, she's going to ask for her money back here. And I can't give her her money back because I need that money because I haven't got any money. Does that make sense? So what I did, I finally realized, well, not necessarily realized, but I was like, Chief, you do realize the reason why she's not getting results is she isn't following the plan. She's not listening to you. And I then was like, right, I'm going to do something about this. So, sorry, you can't see this because it's audio, but the canal is so muddy today and there's just water everywhere. Fortunately, I've got my Nike trail running missiles on so I can navigate the mud and the water. But so what happened was that I decided, I was like, right, I'm going to fast for 2 days. I remember seeing her on the Wednesday, and I fasted all day Monday and all day Tuesday. And I turned up to our consultation. I turned up to one of my follow-ups with her. And I said to her, she started moaning, oh, I haven't lost any weight, oh, whatever. And I said, I'm just going to stop you there. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I haven't eaten for 2 days. It's Wednesday. I had my last meal on Sunday. Okay. Now, I haven't slept because of you. I'm going to be real. I haven't slept because of you. Because I've been so anxious and worried about the fact that you're not getting a result. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I questioned myself and was like, what have I missed? What have I missed? What have I missed? And I realized I haven't missed anything. You just haven't done what I've told you to do. Now I realize I run the risk of upsetting you here, but I also know that I would be doing you a disservice by not telling you what I really do believe you need to hear. And I haven't eaten for 2 days. And it's not because you've caused me to be so stressed that I'm now like starving myself. The reason I haven't eaten for 2 days was because I wanted to show you that I haven't eaten for 2 days and I'm fine. You keep telling me about how you can't fast, about how it's so hard that you're scared that you're going to wither away, you're going to die, and your body's going to go into starvation mode and everything's going to fall to pieces. So, and all I'm asking you to do is not have breakfast. I haven't eaten for 2 days. I am thinking so clearly right now. I have so much energy. I am not hungry. And do you know what? I could go for another 24 hours. And do you know what she did after that? She then went, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You're right. And do you know what? You are right. If you can do it for 2 days, I can prolong my breakfast by 2 hours. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I had applied it to myself, my own certainty and confidence in delivering my coaching was through the roof. Because I hadn't eaten for 2 days and I knew that I was fine and that it worked, because I'd been practicing intermittent fasting for so long, I could push it onto her. This works. This works. I know it works because I've applied it to myself. I am a walking advert that it works. That is why we apply it to ourselves first and foremost. Because this then comes to the next part, which is that I really believe that in terms of coaching, what we need to do is get away from sharing facts and sharing lessons. So the reason why I'm going to ask you to apply all of the stuff from a sleep optimization perspective, but then also all of the series that I go through, whether it's alcohol, cold water therapy, ketogenic diets, intermittent fasting, which we've got loads of stuff that's going to be coming about, mindfulness, yoga, meditation, all of that sort of stuff, that I need you to apply it to yourself so that you can speak from pure confidence and certainty and be able to have those sorts of conversations with your clients. Call them out, because before I applied all of this sort of stuff, I really was very fearful that I wouldn't call them out, because if I called them out, the problem was that I needed to make sure that the stuff that was actually, like, I was actually passing on to them would work. And I didn't have absolute certainty that that if they did follow everything that I was telling them to do, that they would get the result. Does that make sense? So that's why, secondly, we want to apply it to ourselves so we can speak with pure confidence and certainty about the stuff that we're talking about. And that's where the imposter syndrome can kind of come in. That for me, the problem was I was just trying to memorize things I'd learned on podcasts, memorize things I'd read in books, and my knowledge was just a bit like, I was trying to memorize things and tap into my memory about things that I'd read, learned, or heard, versus the real secret where imposter syndrome goes away is I'm sharing things that I have experienced. I'm going to say that again. I'm sharing things that I have experienced. Because one other thing is that, one of the main reasons why we might, sorry, I'm trying to, there we go. Wow. I wish you could see this, but I am going through almost like lakes here. And I've just been tangled by a tree. One of the biggest reasons why I was scared to put myself out there in terms of my coaching business was, one, a fear of being exposed, but also a fear of being criticized. That fear of criticism is huge. And the beauty is that when it comes to you sharing your lessons and your experiences, no fucker can criticize that, because it's true, because you experienced it. And that's your interpretation of it. So if someone criticizes you for that experience, they can get in the bin. So it makes you criticism proof. Completely criticism proof. And you get the benefit of being able to share it with your clients. You then also get the benefit of applying the information to yourself and reaping the benefit, for example, of sleeping well. How great is that? And the third part, I am breaking this episode into two parts. And because, like I said, I like to keep these episodes as short as possible. I don't want these to be like hour-long episodes. So that's why I'm going to split it into two parts for you. But the third reason why I want you to apply it to yourself is, again, for the purpose of your clients. Like I've just touched on, that we're able to fully pass on the information to our clients with absolute certainty. But also, the real benefit is that by applying it to ourselves, we can give them the information that they actually need. So the actual knowledge and information that they need, which isn't your appetite is significantly increased by 30% and sleep-deprived individuals consume an extra 200 to 600 kcals. It's actually the practical challenges and limitations that come with applying sleep-optimizing strategies when you come in contact with this thing called life. Because the thing that I found in terms of university where it failed me, look, I've got qualifications coming out of my ears. But the problem was, all of the stuff I learned at uni, do you know how much of it I was able to actually use in the real world? None of it. Well, maybe a portion of it. But the thing is that like all of these things that experts pass on to you, all of these facts, all of these like, these tools, the problem is that when you actually go and apply them to a real world individual and a real world situation, it's so hard. So, for example, me telling an individual, like in terms of a ketogenic diet, for example, the ketogenic diet, typically you find that an individual's ability to burn fat doubles, maybe even triples. But the problem is that if they have a lifestyle that doesn't quite fit in with being able to use a ketogenic diet, it goes through the toilet. Same as sleep optimization. I can share the perfect sleep optimizing strategy, but if they're a shift worker, that's really challenging. Does this make sense? So I think the point that I'm coming from is that you can then share the real world information and knowledge and strategies that will help them. You can speak to them on their language. You can say the most powerful words in coaching. I get it. I understand. I get how challenging that could be. But do you know what happened? When I was in that situation, I did this and it really helped. That's such useful information. And because you've done it yourself, you can then articulate what you did and how you did it in a way that is coming exactly from their point of view. Because they are literally sitting where you were sitting when you first learned this information. Does that make sense? So yeah. So in this episode, hopefully you've really kind of bought into why sleep optimization is so important for yourself so far. Actually, do you know what? In terms of my notes for everything I wanted to cover on this episode, I've actually done it. So I don't need to split it into two parts. I thought I've got a piece of paper here with some notes on, and I thought that I've missed something. But I think that off the back of you listening to what I'm saying, you're probably bought into, yeah, I really want to learn how to sleep better. I really, really, really do. So yeah, I'm going to keep this to half an hour actually. So yeah, really kind of like what I've covered is like 3 primary reasons why we want to optimize our sleep for ourselves. First of all, the most important one, being able to deal with this emotional roller coaster, being able to deal with this entrepreneurial game of being able to, tackle our emotions and use them in a positive, constructive way versus a negative, destructive way. It is huge. That it's almost like, being in a sleep-deprived state is like pouring gas on the fire. It just makes it so much harder. So making sure that we're prioritizing our sleep is vital. Secondly, in terms of our own performance, we need to be a walking advert for the result that they can get. We need to really be like bulletproof to make our clients proud, to really prove that, hey, this does work. And I know it works because look at me. So in terms of like your own confidence and certainty when it comes to passing this information on with your clients, it is heightened massively because you're speaking from your own experience, which then comes on to the third part, which is you then become criticism proof because you are sharing your lessons, not your facts, which then stops you, first of all, from feeling inadequate, feeling that fear of being exposed in terms of, if I put myself out there, I'm going to get criticized. No one can criticize your lessons. No one can criticize your experiences. And if they do, they can go in this canal that I'm walking by. And finally, you're able to meet your clients where they're at. You're able to actually share with them the real practical strategies that they can use, they can implement with their themselves within their lifestyle because you've experienced it, and they'll be able to buy into it because you're not just sharing these technical, almost like gobbledygook. You're sharing practical, real world things that can help them. So on the next episode, I'm really going to go into specifically, I mentioned previously around how sleep optimization serves as the real foundation for optimizing our physique. I'm going to go into 3 core things on the next episode. For us to really optimize our clients' results from a physical point of view, there's 3 key things we need to nail. First of all, we need to optimize our client's ability to burn fat. Just because our client is in a calorie deficit does not mean 100% of that energy is going to come from fat. Okay, remember, typically standard calorie restriction, 40 to 55% of the weight that is lost actually comes from lean body mass. So I see this all the time with coaches. They're posting, oh, my clients lost 10 kilos. I'm like, yeah, but the way you're doing it, 55% of that has come from their bicep. So remember that just because our clients are in a calorie deficit does not mean 100% of that energy is going to be derived from fat. So I'm going to go into detail about, first of all, how sleep optimization impacts your client's ability to burn fat, why it could be the missing link, as to if you've got a client who's currently hitting a plateau, they're not quite making progress, that this is the reason why sleep optimization and sleep deprivation is probably the reason why they're not losing weight. Secondly, we need to ensure that we can optimize their ability to build and maintain lean body mass, lean muscle tissue. Again, like I just touched on, standard calorie restriction means 40 to 55% of weight is derived from lean body mass, and sleep has a huge impact on that as well, because when we're sleeping, this is when we're producing testosterone, human growth hormone. Our muscles are really repairing and regenerating themselves. So I'm going to go into detail about how sleep deprivation really impacts your ability to build and maintain lean muscle tissue. That can be applied to your clients or yourself. And then thirdly, I'm going to go into, we need to ensure that we can satisfy and suppress our client's appetite. So I'm really going to go into detail about why being in a sleep deprived state is the reason as to why your clients aren't quite staying on track with their plan, which drives your frustration, drives that pain of feeling like you're banging your head against a wall that a client isn't following your plan. So those are the three key things. So at the end of that episode, you will know exactly why sleep deprivation is probably the missing silver bullet as to why your client isn't losing body fat, they're not able to perform at their highest level in the gym, and where they're constantly hungry and falling off the wagon with their plan. So yeah, really exciting. Really, really exciting. So I'm just going to leave you with one thing. Never forget, if every single one of your clients gave you just one new client, you've doubled your business. But the question is, are you giving them a good enough reason to recommend you? If not, come on board.